learning all a lot of the time, and it's fun. And today I spent an hour with somebody, and she calls me for help, but really she helps me. So
don't you love that?
Yeah. I'm like, you know more than I do.
What part of Washington, Ramona?
Seattle area.
Okay, I'm from Centralia originally.
Okay, yeah. And where are you now?
South Florida.
Oh, that's a long way from home.
That's what my mom says all the time. They're still in Centralia.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. I actually, that's funny knowing that you're from there, Diane, because you actually remind me of one of my very good friends who's also from up there. So that's funny. Like, you just have the same mannerisms and stuff. I've always thought
Washington vibe. Yeah.
It must be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Ramona is going to have it too now.
Totally. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Yes. Hello. Welcome to the
Nice to
call.
see y'all.
Good to see
Nice
you.
to see you.
What part of Virginia are you in, Sam?
So I live in Norfolk and I work in Virginia Beach. So it's Hampton Roads.
Are you serious? I lived in Gloucester and Williamsburg for several years. Yeah.
Oh, random. That's super random.
I was the director of one of the family history centers out there.
Okay. So Gloucester is like, I go through Gloucester to go to a youth camp in the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like.
Where do you go? Up to like Matthews?
Piankatank? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Go. That's awesome. We love it up there. That's a beautiful area. I love going out to visit all of our old friends. It's great.
Yeah, and Williamsburg is really fun.
Yeah, Williamsburg's great. Like, we went there for law school. My husband was in law school, and it was a great time. But we didn't take as much advantage of it as we should have. You know, like, it's like you don't realize how great it is till you go to Gloucester, and you're like, oh, wow, Williamsburg was really great.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ken, are you willing to share with us who you are and introduce yourself a little bit? We don't see your video, but I didn't know if maybe you'd have the audio option.
Yeah, I live in Lehigh. You know where that is, Olivia.
I do.
And I've met Diane several times at BYU Family History Conference and Roots Tech.
Awesome.
Diane, I'm the one that gave you grief at Roots Tech about the price of your book.
Oh.
Well, no wonder you're not showing your face.
Yeah. Well, it saves bandwidth if everybody just goes. It
sure does.
Goes
That's
audio.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, welcome, Ken. We're thrilled to have you. And Vicki, last week we had people just keep coming on, so we'll kind of let everyone introduce at the beginning, and then I'm going to chat with Diana for a little bit, and then we'll kind of go back to questions. So Vicki, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm just a newbie trying to learn some stuff. I'm from Cache Valley.
Oh, that's my home.
In Utah. Oh, awesome. I'm going to keep my muted because I'm in the middle of making face masks, and I don't think you want to listen to my machine.
Good for you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I tried to do that, and I gave up. I was like, I'm going to be a good mom. We're going to buy all the stuff. I got the kit, and then I was like, I cannot do this. And so we made little bags instead.
I'm making the clinical ones.
Oh.
It's all straight stitches.
Oh, that's nice.
Very
I should have done that. I should have found the right one. I love having newbies here. That is my favorite. Thank you for coming, and thank you for trying it out and giving the experiment a try. I hope you're having an incredible experience.
It's been great. Thank you.
Good. Yay. Thank you for coming. And then Monica, I know who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe? She might be right. I'll let Michelle go next. She changed her name. Michelle, are you on there? Yeah.
Yes. Are we just introducing ourselves?
Yeah, just introduce yourself. Tell everyone what you do for the project, though.
I'm just the social media manager, which means I get to play on the internet all day. And
at it. She's like this. It's like you say, hey, can you get this up on there? Oh, yeah, it's on all three, like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, most of the time you can't brag about things like that. I don't like tell my kids I can't be on tech, but I'm all day long.
Isn't that true?
So true.
I saw Monica just said she can't get her audio to work, but she is one of my cute friends. She actually is studying family history right now to get a degree in it. So
How do you do that?
I don't know. I think at BYU probably they have that. I think she's at the BYU Idaho one or something, but yeah, I think it's awesome. That's super cool. I am not that motivated, but anyway, okay. I'm going to take a minute to introduce Diahan really fast and just kind of let her introduce herself too, because sorry, Sam, I didn't let you introduce yourself because I already knew you. I'm sorry. Sam, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
I'm Sam Williams, and I live in Norfolk, Virginia. I work in Virginia Beach, and I have a blog, Orthodox Genealogist. Yeah.
Sam rocks. He has been with us on this since like the first week, so he's great. And he's an ambassador at Roots Tech. If you don't know what that is, that's a genealogy conference in Salt Lake every year that Family Search puts on. It's genealogy and technology. It's kind of like the greatest place on earth. So if you haven't gone, you should definitely try it. And that's actually leads me into, that's where I met Diahan. I have gone to her DNA classes the last several years because I've been going to Roots Tech for probably 10 years, well, almost, not quite. I didn't go the first year. So 8 or 9. And pretty much I feel like I've gone to her classes every year and I love it. And I told her I am not a DNA person. Like, it doesn't excite me like it excites everyone else, but going to her classes excites me. So, so I thought she'd be a perfect VIP to give this a try tonight because, basically she just makes it fun and interesting, and she can put it on like the simple terms to make it so that those of us who don't understand all the science necessarily can still wrap our heads around it. So I'm super excited to have her come tonight. She was totally all about it, like we planned this morning. So that's how awesome she is. So Diahan, do you want to just kind of give us a little bit about your background and tell us, I don't know, how, tell us about your book. Just tell us what you think would be awesome for us to know.
Okay, what would be awesome for you to know? Well, I guess it starts in college. So while other kids were, doing whatever college kids do on the weekends, I was involved in a project called the Sorensen Molecular Genealogy Foundation. And it was like the first genetic genealogy database. We were really trying to figure out who this group of ancient Egyptian mummies were. So there's this burial site outside of Cairo, Egypt, and there's no town nearby. So there's hundreds of people buried in this cemetery, but no town. And it makes no sense, right? Because why would you travel out into the desert and like bury people? You just do it outside of town. Right. And so there was this like years long, it's still ongoing actually, like department project to try to figure out who these people were. And so our lab was doing the DNA. So we had a team that went out to the cemetery and they took like bone samples, like mostly teeth, and they'd bring it back to the lab and then we would do testing on it. And now this is back in like this is like 1999. And so back then we could only do 2 kinds of DNA testing. It was the direct male line testing called Y-DNA, or the direct female testing called mitochondrial DNA. And we were pretty much exclusively doing mitochondrial DNA. So in mitochondrial DNA, you could tell the relationships of the people in the burial site, like if they were maternally related to each other. So like you'd see a burial and it's obviously a woman and there's 2 kids. So you could tell if the 2 kids were likely to be hers or not by looking at their mitochondrial DNA. So that was fantastic. And we could learn a ton about these people and their relationships to each other, just maternally. But we still didn't know who they were. And so what we needed was a database, right? A database of worldwide people that we could compare their DNA against to see who they matched. And so this was the big idea, right? And so eventually this idea got around to a local philanthropist there in Utah. His name was Jim Sorensen. And he got a hold of this idea and was like, well, it sounds like you guys need money, so let's make this happen. And so then we started traveling on the weekends. Me and one other college student, the 2 of us would go out, sometimes me by myself, but mostly 2 of us. And we would go out to like random places across the United States and collect blood back then. People were giving us blood to help build this database. And so I did that all through college. And then by the time I graduated from college, the foundation had become kind of like a real business. And so we'd moved it out of our little college setting and had a lab. And so I just kind of transitioned right from college into working in the lab up there. And eventually, you know, that all ran its course, and that foundation actually became the kind of the base for Ancestry DNA's current product. So when that was sold to Ancestry, then I kind of just went out on my own. So I've been working, I guess, as an entrepreneur for 6 years. I just had my 6-year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, my company's called Your DNA Guide.
Yes. I love that. Like the whole time you're talking, I'm like, you're just an entrepreneur at heart, aren't you? Because you're like,
no, I'm totally not. That's the thing. Like, I never wanted this. Like, I came into this totally kicking and screaming. Like, I like being a slave. I actually like people telling me what to do. I like a constant paycheck where you like know how much you're going to get paid every month. Like, that's really nice. Like, I didn't want to do this, but now that I'm here, like, it's kind of awesome. So
good.
I'm glad it worked out this way, but
I love that you think it's kind of awesome. Like, I love hearing that. That's cool, because I'm like you. I'm not an entrepreneur either, so I'm like, I get it. I get why you would want to have that regular paycheck. That's so cool, though. So tell us a little bit more about your book.
So so over the course of, really, I've been in the genetic genealogy industry for 20 years. That's honestly how long it's been in industry, from like day one offering commercial testing to now. And so over the course of all of these years, I've you know, traveled a lot, I've lectured a lot, and I talk to people all the time, and people are like, why don't you write a book? And all the time I was like, I don't want to write a book, because this industry changes so fast that I feel like as soon as I finally got something written, it would need to be updated. And so I was kind of pushing back against it for a long time. But then maybe last summer or so, we do these, like, we call it mentoring, where we meet together with people online, just like this on Zoom, but we can see each other's screen. And so then people can pull up their DNA test results, and I can walk them through their questions, and we can look at next steps and help them figure things out. And so we do that all the time. And I realized last summer, as I was meeting with multiple people, and of course, everybody has a different question, right? Somebody's looking for their 2 times great grandfather, somebody's looking for their grandmother, and, you know, everybody has a different question. But I realized that there are a distinct set of steps you can walk through that everybody needs to go through to find their answer. And as I started kind of recognizing these patterns in the way I was talking to people, and I was like, wait a second, like, we can do this. Like, it doesn't matter how much the testing company changes their interface, because that's a big thing, right? Like, what? All our presentations that we do, you like take screenshots of the website, and then they change it, and you have to like go through and update all your screenshots, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. Right. And but I realized, like, in the book, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to put any screenshots, because it's all methodology. That's the whole book. It's methodology, and it's like step by step. So it's like a choose your own adventure book. So I ask you in the beginning, what ancestor do you want to find? And you say, I want to find my 2 times great grandfather. And I say, okay, turn to page 37. And then I say, okay, go to your DNA match page. Tell me what you see. Do you see situation A? Then turn to page 22. Do you see situation B? Then turn to page 47. And so that's the way it is the whole time, because it's like this big flow chart. Mm-hmm. And it's like you come to a decision point, and I tell you which way to go depending on what you see in your own results. So it was really fun to write. It was obviously a lot harder to write than I thought. It was like, oh, this is going to be easy, because I do it all the time, right? Yeah. But doing it yourself and explaining it to someone else is like totally different. And explaining it to those of us who don't get it at all. So you're having to write it to like the me's in the world who are like, huh? What does this even mean? Yeah. And it's made me such a better genetic genealogist, because when you're an expert at something, at anything, like, you just do stuff. Yeah. It's just like instinct almost, you know? Right. But I had to like back up and be like, okay, why did I just make that decision? What was it about this DNA match that I liked or didn't like? And so it was really good for me to like really break it down and analyze it myself. And now I know why I'm making these decisions. It's not so instinctual, which is just better all around, because you really shouldn't operate on instinct anyway. You need to have some kind of foundation. So yeah, it's been really good for me to kind of step back and see what exactly was I doing. So right. No, I love that. Well, and when I looked at the book, like you saying the choose your own adventure, like
that was what I loved, because I have so many people come to me because I do family history. They just assume I know everything, right? They're like, oh, I heard about these DNA tests and I took one and I don't know what to do with it. And I always am just kind of like, I mean, I can tell you the basics of mitochondrial Y and autosomal. Like, I can tell you the basics of what information you get from those three things, and that's about my knowledge base. And so I'll be like, well, which test did you take? Okay, you know, but in my mind, it's like, I would love to have your book. I need to just buy one. I haven't yet. I will. And have it available so that anytime someone comes to me, I can be like, hey, let's work through this. Let's look at these answers, because that was what I thought was so cool. As I looked at the pages, it was like, oh, yes or no. Okay, I go this way. Like, we did those in our like teeny bopper magazines. Remember, like, you answer a yes or no.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. And so to me, I think that's super cool. It's logical. We can work through that. Anybody can work through that, you know? So I love it. I'm super, super thrilled that you put it together. Did you say it took about 9 months? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Or did I make that up? Okay.
No, that's about right.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool. Like, thank you for bringing that to our world. That's awesome. And it's called Your DNA Guide, right?
Yep. Your DNA Guide, the book.
The book. So it can
The
people
book.
find that on like Amazon or?
So yeah, it's on our website. Yeah.
Your DNA,
which is yourdnaguide.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. I love that. So let's, I do have one other question, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe I'll ask it later. Because when you were talking, I was like, I want to ask her that. I don't remember what it was. So I'll let other people start asking some questions, because I'm sure that's why many of them came on. So does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask Diane right now? Sam has a look. Yeah, go ahead,
Ramona.
Sorry.
I know absolutely nothing about DNA testing. So it doesn't sound like your book would be the book for me, that I would need to know enough to have actually done a test.
Right.
So I went to Root Tech for the first time in February, and I saw all those DNA things, and I just went, okay, I'm not going there this year.
Right. No, that's smart. Like, you need some time. So here's a brief primer.
Okay.
So we have actually 5 different DNA testing companies that I would consider to be like reputable, good companies for genetic genealogy. Now, there's a lot of other companies offering a lot of other stuff for DNA, like health things. But for genealogy, you've got 5 essentially. Okay. So when you're evaluating which of these 5 do I want to use to take a DNA test, you consider a few factors. So number 1 is, how big is the database? Because really, it's all about finding DNA matches. And if the testing company doesn't have matches, then what is that? Do you hear that music? Is that at my house?
I hear music. I don't know whose it's on. It might be on someone else's.
I don't either. Actually, I think it's like the, I'm just going to turn it off.
I might hear it really good.
It's like Alexa, you know, and sometimes you say stuff that it like thinks you're talking to it.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so database size, right? Because you need to have a lot of people to have the best chance of having the person that you need tested. Okay, so if we're going to rank our databases based on number of people tested, Ancestry DNA is the top. So they have like, I think they're up to like 16 million people tested now. Okay. And so then we go down from there to 23andMe, which is another testing company, and they've got like 11 million. And then it drops off pretty significantly down from there to MyHeritage, who's got about 4 million. And then we've got Family Tree DNA, who's got maybe 2.5 million. And then Living DNA, who has so few, they haven't even told us how many people are tested. Okay. All right. So that's number 1. And I think that's probably the most important. So second then is, if you have a DNA match, that's fantastic. But is the company going to help you figure out how you're related to that match? Because if they just show you the match and they're like, hey, here's your cousin, but they don't offer you any tools to help you figure out how you're related, all you can do is really contact that person and be like, hey, we're a match, let's work together, right? So when we're talking genealogy tools, we're talking integrating your family tree information with your DNA information. So again, I think hands down the best at that is Ancestry, because they have a lot of tools that take your family tree and help you kind of interact with your DNA with the family tree information that you have. MyHeritage is also very good at that. So those two companies are what I would consider, true genealogy companies. They not only offer DNA testing, but they also offer record searches, right? So you can all kind of in one fell swoop, search the census records, look for court records, whatever, like you do it all on their sites. So those two companies are super invested in genealogy, not just DNA. Okay. Whereas 23andMe is totally DNA. Like you can't even post a family tree on 23andMe. Okay. So it's like, yes, they have a ton of people tested, and yeah, they have a different customer base than Ancestry has. Their website's really nice. Their interface is really nice. They have awesome ethnicity tools. The genealogy part is like nil, like almost nothing. Okay. So those are the biggest factors in my mind. How big is the database, and how are they going to help you figure out how you're related to someone else? So if you had to choose one company, you could choose Ancestry and be safe. Mm-hmm. But we also can do something we call transferring. So let's say you can find Ancestry DNA's test for like $79. Okay, so you pay $79, you get Ancestry's test. And then you can actually transfer it, which means you take like your DNA file, mm-hmm. and you take it off of Ancestry and you can dump it into MyHeritage for free. And then you can dump it into Family Tree DNA for free. You can dump it into Living DNA for free. So now you've tested the Ancestry for $79, but you're in 4 out of the 5 databases, mm-hmm. for $79. And then if you wanted to, you could test directly with 23andMe, which would be another $99. So that's the cheapest way to get the most access, is to test first with Ancestry, then you transfer to MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, and Living DNA, and then test again at 23andMe. So I've got all the instructions on how to transfer on my website. So you can go to yourdnaguide.com/transferring. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can figure out how to put that in the chat. I'm on my phone. I'm usually on my computer, but
I'll do it. /transferring, you said?
Transferring, yeah. So
I'll
Olivia
do it while you chat.
So that's how it works. Like the other things you need to consider before taking a test is, like any investigative endeavor, whether you're doing it through paper records or DNA, like, are you sure you really want to know? Like, before you test, do you really want to know? Because DNA is very powerful and it's very good at defining relationships. And so a lot of people find people they didn't know they had. They find cousins and siblings and all sorts of things that they didn't know. And so before you test, just, are you sure? Do you really want to know? And as long as you're sure, then go for it. But you got to be sure.
So is there anything you could recommend for somebody to read if they're trying to decide? If you can go to my website, I've got a lot of really good blogs on my website that go over things like we just talked about too. Okay.
That's a really good resource. You could also, where else do you think, Sam? Where else would be a really good resource?
I know that Sunny Morton didn't Sunny Morton do like a, or was she comparing the different companies?
Yeah, she compared the different genealogy companies. Like, there is a DNA component to her talk. It's actually a Roots Tech live stream talk. So if you just Googled Sunny Morton Roots Tech.
I think I actually have a link to it open.
Oh, do you have a link to it?
Yeah, let me
Awesome.
look.
Yeah, put that in the chat. That's a really good talk just about comparing all the different family history companies. And she does have a DNA section in that talk. That's a good suggestion.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Great questions, Ramona. Thank you. Because we're recording this so we can share it. And I'm sure that will be a very common question for a lot of people. So thank you so much.
I just
have
put
a
the
question
DNA,
for
the
Diane.
genealogy giant in.
You put it in the, did you say you put it in the thing, Sam? Okay. Thank you, in the chat. Ken, go ahead with your question.
Diane, were you a part of a presentation with Lisa Louise Cook called No Tree, No Problem?
Yes.
Can you talk about what to do when you find a DNA match has little or no tree?
Sure. So that talk also, if Olivia, if you want to Google that really quick, that you could probably Google my name and then Lisa Louise Cook and then Roots Tech. And that's another live streaming talk that should still be available for free that people could watch. So this is a big problem, right? Because when you have a DNA match with someone and you want to figure out how you're related to them, like what can you really do to help you figure it out? Especially if they don't have a tree posted. If you're at Ancestry, you can post a tree, but like I just said, if you're at 23andMe, they can't even post a tree. So you don't even have that option to look at their tree. So what you can do first of all is a strategy I call using your known matches. So actually in the book, in your DNA guide, the book we were talking about earlier, one of the paths you can take in the book is to just investigate what I call your mystery match. So how am I related to this person? So the book kind of takes you through this process. But the first step is to look at your known matches. So likely you have matches on your DNA match page that you already know your relationship to. So what you do is you click on your mystery match, that person you want to investigate, and then you click on shared matches. So no matter what testing company you're at, they have this tool. And it's in different places depending on what company you're at. But if you're at Ancestry, are you at Ancestry, Ken? Yeah. Oh, you muted yourself. That's fine.
I'm
Okay.
an Ancestry and MyHeritage and Family Tree DNA.
Okay. So at Ancestry, the way you find the shared matches is you click on a match and then there's like 3 tabs at the top. It starts out in the tree tab and then the next tab over says shared matches. So if you click on shared matches, what that tool does is it's like a filter for your DNA match list. And it shows you all of the people that are related to you and to your mystery match. So it takes your whole match list and it only shows you people that are sharing DNA with you and your mystery match. So if you look at that list and you see your first cousin on your dad's side, let's say his name's Paul, and there's Paul. That means Paul is sharing DNA with your mystery match. If you know that Paul's related on your dad's side, that means your mystery match is also related on your dad's side. So just like that, without actually knowing anything about this mystery match, you know something about them. You know what side of the family they're related on. So when you look at those DNA matches and you're looking at your known matches, it can often help you define which branch of the family that match is related on. Now, that's only going to get you so far. And so the next thing you can do is to reach out to them, to write them a note and ask them questions about their family history. So I like to keep the notes short and simple. I like to think of notes like a first date. So what's the goal of a first date? Well, it's to get a second date, right? Or to determine if you want to get a second date. So essentially, when you're writing to someone for the first time, you need to think of it like a first date. So number 1 rule, don't talk about yourself. Nobody really wants to hear your story right away, right? So number 2, ask them a question they know the answer to. So maybe you're looking for your Morrisons. And so you might be tempted to ask them, hey, do you have Morrisons in your family tree? And that's an okay question. You can ask that. But if they don't know the answer, then are they going to write back? A lot of people won't. A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe I'll ask my grandma about that, and then they forget. Or maybe they just feel embarrassed that they don't know that much about their family tree, or they're afraid to get into a conversation with you because they feel like they don't know enough. So ask them something they know. So you could ask them just, hey, even if you could just tell me your grandparents' names, that would be helpful. Most people know their grandparents' names. And you're a genealogist, which means if they give you their grandparents' names, you could do genealogy to figure out more, right? So reaching out to somebody is the next thing you can do. If all of that fails, that whole talk we were just talking about at Roots Tech, no tree, no problem, is really about how to find information about someone just on the internet. So depending on what your match has given you, some people write their full names in their profile. So you can take their full name and you can look for it on places like Facebook or Pinterest. You can Google their name. So I recommend doing this for yourself first or for close relatives. So you can kind of get a feel for what kind of information is out there and what kind of information is available. There's a lot of free people finding sites like people.com, and you can put your own name in there and just see what comes up. So you can understand how the search engines work and what kinds of information they're giving you, how accurate is the information that they're giving you. So go out and try that for yourself first, and then try it for your DNA match. And a lot of times you can find out enough information about your match so that you know who they are, or at least know what to do next.
I love that. I feel like we're just getting so educated right now. Like, we'd have to pay big bucks for this, guys. This is awesome. Michelle had her hand raised next. Do you still have a question, Michelle?
I was just going to ask, is there anything that you should be concerned about when you're sharing your DNA with all these systems? Like,
so when you're transferring?
Yeah.
So anytime you're taking your DNA anywhere, you need to be sure you're reading all of the terms and conditions. So we are so conditioned as a society to just click, check, okay, click through. Don't ever do that with your DNA. So all of these companies essentially are going to ask you 2 levels of questions when it comes to signing up for their service. The first one is it okay for us to test your DNA? And you have to say yes to that, because that's why you paid, right? So that just gives them the right to take either your physical sample and run it through their system, or if you're transferring, to take that data and run it through their system. So you have to say yes to that. But there's always a second part. And the second part is asking, do you want to be involved in other research projects at our company? And so for each company, those are different. And you can get access to the information, you can see the things that they're involved in, but you kind of have to do some digging and you have to do some reading. So you can always just say no to doing extra research if you're feeling a little concerned about maybe what they might be doing to your, what kinds of research they might be conducting. Most of our companies are doing 2 kinds of research. The first is to try to improve their product that they're giving you. So the more of us that say, yes, you can use my data in research, the better their product is going to be, because the more information they're going to have to work with. So you'll see that in the ethnicity updates. So all of our companies are doing ethnicity updates fairly regularly. And they're able to do that because people have said, sure, you can use my data in your ethnicity research project, essentially. So when they get enough people from Sardinia who've tested, they can make the Sardinia category for ethnicity much better. So you might want to participate in that kind of research project, right? But the other kind of research projects they have usually have to do with health. So all of our companies have now launched some kind of health component to their test. And it's like an extra, it's like an add-on, you have to pay more for it. And so they're actively involved in research in health arenas. And that's everything from like traits, like, is your earlobe detached and are your eyes green, to like, do you have breast cancer, or will you likely get melanomas, or, all sorts of things, right? So there's this huge, like, wide range of things that they might be researching, but there's only one checkbox. So you're either in or you're out. But you need to make sure you're thinking about that and making that decision consciously, and not just checking all the boxes so you can get through the registration process.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't think your name's Matthew, but Matthew.
I'm Linda. I don't know why it has my husband's name on it. But this question might sound kind of strange since I'm here listening to this program, but when the DNA came out, I got all excited and I got myself tested. I got all our children tested, my husband, my parents, et cetera, et cetera. So there's data there, but it just sits there because I look at it and there's so much stuff, and I've got a family tree, paper or digital. And I was like, what should I do with this? And why is it important? I mean, is that a dumb question?
No, that's a fantastic question. I feel like so many people are in your situation. So many. So here's a couple of thoughts. The first thing is the idea that you expressed that you've got like data overload is like real, okay? Because it's really hard to look at so many people's data. So let me first of all, make it sort of easy for you, and that you never have to look at your information or your kids' information ever again, as long as you're just wanting to do family history. Because you've had both of your parents tested, you are genetically irrelevant. Like, you don't matter for family history purposes, because your parents have 100% of their DNA and you only have half, right? So it's fun. Like, I've been tested, even though both of my parents have been tested. But if I'm ever doing research, I only look at my parents' DNA. I never look at my own. So that one makes it easier for you. You don't have to kind of jump back and forth between everybody's results. You really can just focus on your parents. Okay, so let's say you open up your dad's DNA match list. The first thing you can do is look for your known matches. Now, again, I think a lot of people skip this because they're like, oh, yeah, that's Judy. I know her. She's my dad's cousin. Oh, and there's Mark. Yeah, he's my dad's second cousin, whatever. And we feel like we already know these people, so it's not important. It is so important. Each known match that you see on their match list is like a stamp of approval that you found the right ancestor. And even though you don't have any doubt that who the grandparents were, who the great-grandparents were, it's still like that extra record that says, yes, this is the right couple, this is the right person, you've done this correctly. So just noticing and recognizing all of those known matches can give you confidence in your family tree as it's laid out. Now, if you have any holes in your family tree, you can also start to ask your match list for clues about the hole. So let's say you have a hole in your 2 times great-grandparent. Okay, so if you think about your pedigree chart and you can like picture it in your mind, okay, you've got 2 sets of grandparents, right? Everybody has 2 sets of grandparents. You've got 4 great-grandparent couples, and you have 8 2 times great-grandparent couples, okay? So if you don't know all 8 of those, you could very feasibly use your DNA match list to help you fill in one of those blanks. So the process can be, complicated. I don't know that I can say it right this second. I mean, that's what the book is for. That's what my blogs are for. Like, there's ways to figure this out. So if you have a hole and it's in your 2 times, so you have 8 2 times great-grandparents, you have 16 3 times great-grandparents. If you have all of those ancestors filled out already, do you know all of those people, Linda?
Yes.
Okay. If you have your whole tree filled out, then you're really just in the process of validating and verifying. So it's going through each of your matches and assigning them to one of those couples. And then like recognizing this like amazing concept that here are lists and lists of 4th cousins, people you will never know, and yet you have a physical, tangible connection to them. Like, they are carrying the same DNA that you are carrying, and it's from this common ancestor that you share. And I feel like just like looking at all of the names, these are real people who are like really related to you, and like in a tangible way. I feel like it kind of changes the way I see myself. I think it changes the way I see my ancestors. If you have a specific ancestor that you like to think about or like to research, I would reach out to the cousins and I would ask them for pictures. I would ask them for documents. Like, you just don't know what other people have about your ancestors. I've had so many people find gems of information that they didn't have before. Not that it was a place or a date, it wasn't a name, but it was a diary or a memento, things that are precious that other people don't have any idea what to do with. It's just been sitting in their attic for years. So I find like a kind of a campaign. Once you figure out how you're related to someone, you send them a message and say, hey, I see that you share this ancestor in common. Here's a picture I have of this ancestor. Do you have anything? And so it's an exchange of mementos and information that way. So those are some ideas of what you might want to do with your matches.
Thank you.
I love all those practical applications. I'd never even thought about it because I'm like Linda, and I've done a lot of testing, and I haven't really, those are great practical applications on a family history level. So I love that. Cool. Okay. Does anyone else, no one's raised their hand, but does anyone else have a question for her that they want to ask?
Yeah. Did you guys ever find out where those people came from in the cemetery?
Not yet, actually. So there's still like an ongoing project to figure all of this stuff out. And the problem really is that you can only find out so much with mitochondrial DNA. We really need to do an autosomal DNA study. It just has never been launched, but it's getting to the point now where we could actually do that. Like even 5 years ago, it really wouldn't have been possible just because the DNA is so degraded. But technology has come so far in being able to test degraded DNA on autosomal DNA that somebody just needs to step up and do it. Like our little research branch, of course, is not really involved in that project anymore. So I don't know if anybody at BYU is still doing it or not, but that'd be actually really interesting to figure out.
Yeah, really. Ramona, did you have a question too?
Well, I just was thinking about all these links and I thought they're going to go away. And then I found this little box that says Save Chat. So I don't know if people know about this. Brand new for me, but where is it saved?
Probably wherever your computer. I don't know. I've never actually done it. Click the show and folder button and it'll show you where it saved it on your computer, I would guess.
Click the what button?
The show and folder next to it where when you click save chat and then it pops up a little green box then it's
the show and folder. Okay.
That'll show you where it is and you can copy it to anywhere on your computer.
Perfect.
Okay, I have a couple more, but I want to give everyone else opportunities if they have them. So.
This is CJ.
Hi.
Hi. Where can you save the chat? I'm not seeing that.
Oh, over on the bottom of the chat box. Do you know where the chat box is? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
There's 3 little dots in the right corner, and if you click on those, it'll pop up, and the first option is to save chat. And that is a good idea. We'll post, do you know what I'll do? I'll post when I post this on the social media, I'll make sure I post all those links in the comments.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Diane. I think this is I just am loving this because I feel like I learn so much from you every time we talk. So 2 questions, because this is just for my personal question, then the other one's kind of a wrap-up question. But my personal question is, I feel like when I first started going to Roots Tech, DNA was still just like this brand new concept in genealogy. Like it really is very new. Were you part of that movement, like right from the beginning, pretty much? Because it sounds like you've been doing it forever. Have you kind of been just like in that push pretty much the whole time? Like, and if you have, which I'm assuming you have, what's been like the coolest things that you've seen come from all of the changes? Like I know, just on a family search end, just in genealogy, like it's incredible to see what's happened in the last maybe 5 years, right? Like all the tools that have come in. What's the coolest things in the DNA space that you think are like, this is mind blowing. I never would have thought we'd be here by now, 5 years ago.
Well, so like I said, I started out doing this in college, and it started our professor, the lead professor's name was Scott Woodward. And he basically gathered all of us in our weekly lab meeting that we used to have, all of us little college student lab rats, and we got together, and he basically laid out this idea that we could create a database, and one day anyone anywhere in the world would be able to take a simple DNA test, and we would be able to tell them who their people were and where they came from. And I remember that meeting distinctly, sitting there being like, oh, that would be amazing. It would be so incredible to be able to tell somebody who they were and where they were from, just looking at their DNA. And it is shocking and amazing to me that we can still do that. Like that's happened, and it's happened slowly in a way, but then there was like this explosion. You can see there's like these charts that show like number of people tested, and they kind of steadily go up until about like 2008, 2009, and then it's like, and it just like goes up. And as soon as that peak hits, we've hit this saturation point almost, where now anyone who's tested, especially if have Western European origins, then you're automatically finding DNA cousins, like close cousins. And like I was just on a phone call, we call it mentoring today, with a guy, and I helped him in January find his mom, And I kind of set him off on the path, and he's been working steadily this whole time and just using, I mean, he doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't even know how to do family history. But just from the things that I taught him and the things he's been able to learn on his own, he has a candidate for his dad. And so he was meeting with me again to see if he was right. And that's the thing, like, people are finding out who they are from a DNA test. And even for people who aren't adopted, it is still this amazing discovery process. Family history is an amazing discovery process, but now so many people are entering into it that didn't before. And it's like me, like I came into family history through DNA. And now there's so many people like me who are showing up with a DNA test, and they're like, okay, that was kind of interesting. How do I find out more? Who are these people? And it's so exciting because I feel like family history, I feel like it's kind of always been on the edge of extinction over the last 20 years. Like genealogy societies are seeing a decline in membership. You know, there's like the interest in it. People are just not interested in their family. And now this has kind of caused this resurgence of, wow, I am actually really interested in this. I do want to know who I am. And it's so exciting to see people turning and looking back at who they are. Yeah, that's been the most exciting, I think.
No, I love that so much because, like, it's going to sound stupid to compare, but at the same time, as you're saying it, I'm like, man, I can just compare that to what I feel like my kind of focus has been more on, like, bringing in the fun and the unique ways of doing family history, so that it's the same concept of, like, it's bringing it to life, it's helping. And so I have that same passion as you do, and so I think that's why I like you so much. I'm drawn to that. I'm drawn to that passion and that excitement.
Yeah.
But I love that. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone one more time chance for a last minute question, because I have one wrap up question. But does anyone else have anything they want to ask before? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Monique.
Okay, Diane, I have color coded my matches like 3 or 4 times on Ancestry, and I want to do it a 4th time because I keep figuring out how I'm like, okay, I can do this better and more color how I want it. Is there an easier way to, like, wipe everything, or no? Like all the colors?
The easiest way to wipe all the colors is to just go up to the top menu where you see it says groups, and you just delete all of the groups, like just delete them.
Okay.
And start over. So what she's talking about actually is kind of the question maybe that you actually asked Olivia, and then I kind of went off on some strange tangent. But Ancestry DNA has this dot system that helps you organize and keep track of your matches. And I think, Lisa, this would be a fun thing for you to do with all of your matches, because you have all these known ancestors. So I actually have a YouTube channel, and I just posted last week. I have these, like, it's a series I'm doing that's like 5 minutes with your DNA. And I posted this video about using Ancestry DNA's dot system to help kind of organize all your DNA matches. So that's just at youtube.com/yourdnaguide. And so you can go watch that and just kind of try out that Ancestry DNA dot method to kind of categorize all of your matches. It's really fun, actually. And it's really versatile. So as you were saying, like, there's a lot of different ways you can use the dot system. So this is kind of just my kind of basic way to start using it. And so, yeah, thanks, Olivia, for putting that in the chat there.
So Diane, I clicked
on
there and I'm not seeing anything to delete groups.
So if you scroll down to one of the groups, there'll be that little edit, like pencil next to it. Like if you hover over one of your groups.
Okay, so it's not the group. There's like some things across the top that said groups. It's not there. It's actually by your colored dots that says add or edit groups.
Sorry, yeah. So add or edit groups, and then click. Gotcha. I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
And that will wipe the color with the name and everything.
Yeah, that takes it all off.
Awesome. Because I'm gonna recolor code mines like it's for my filing system. You know, like the blue is the paternal, and then it will just click easier for me. Because I was doing, Sometimes you don't know how to file things until you did it 3 times.
Tried a couple times. No, I am with you. Yes.
Okay, and I have one more quick question.
Okay.
Oh, you're not done.
Oh, I was just gonna say, just don't be. I'm so proud of you. Like, I have been wanting to delete all my dots so many times. I'm like, but it was so much work.
I know. That's why I haven't did it.
But you just need to do it. It's refreshing. And then I feel like, you learn so much, and then you forget, wait, did I do this system right? Like if I were, I think it's a great thing. Congratulations. Delete them all and start over.
Okay. And I bought my sister, and I can ask probably Ancestry this, but I bought my sister, I've been doing DNA for like 7 years, and I bought her a kit which she's never used, and I'm like, okay, you're never going to do this. Let's send it to somebody else. But it's that old. Do you think it's even going to work, or should I just get a new one from Ancestry by now, or will they do that?
It should work, but I think you can contact Ancestry and ask them to send a new one.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So as a wrap-up question, I want to hear, because I may have said this at the beginning. I don't think I did, but I was on Twitter the other day and I saw that Diane joined the Connections experiment, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. And she said something like, better late or I'm late to the party, but I'm joining.
Yes.
And I was so excited. So my question for you is, what inspired you to join the experiment, and how's it going so far?
What inspired me, as soon as I saw it, I thought, this is so cool. I love it. And I don't remember who you said did all the writing. Who's on the call that did all the writing? Was that you, Monique?
Plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Camille, and Monique helped her.
Camille and Monique. Oh my gosh. They're awesome. I just was like, this is so thorough. There's just so many wonderful ideas. I love how it's broken up by age group. I love it. It's fantastic. It's such a fabulous resource, and I want everyone to know about it. So yeah, it was the no-brainer. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is awesome. So way to go, you guys. I love it.
Well, I was just excited to hear, because yes, it's been so much fun to just see how people have jumped on the project and been excited, and then just hearing everyone's feedback has been so awesome. We literally threw it together, most of you have probably heard, but in like a week and a half. Like it was a crazy storm of craziness. That's the only way to say it. But it's been so much fun. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. Like just having everyone come together, meet, as a community is super fun. And so Diane, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Like,
happy birthday, Olivia.
Let's try this. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
Happy birthday, Olivia.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been an awesome birthday. Just talking with everyone about the project has been like, it makes me beam. I love it. It's so much fun. So thanks for all of you being a part of it. Continue to spread the word. We'll continue. I'll tell you guys, we actually have decided we're going to do it again in October. So we're going to leave all the resources up throughout the year so people can still do it. They can start little projects in their small groups at work, at whatever, different groups. So we'll leave all our plans up and everything, and then we'll do an official one again in October, and we'll have new plans and new resources, and we're really excited. So, yes, keep coming back and doing it with us, because it's fun. So. All right. Thanks for coming tonight. You guys rock. Diane, you're amazing. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and knowledge and all of the resources. As you were talking, I'm looking at your website and going, my goodness, she has put so much out there. So thank you. Bring it to life for all of us. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. We'll see you maybe next Tuesday if you want to join us. I don't know who will be there. We'll see if we find someone. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.